Welcome to the Do It All Dad Year podcast. Jokes Gen X dads understand. Controlling our kids' economy can make our kids great again. My three fuss-free kids, 90% of the time, are living proof of it. Our world definitely needs actual funny jokes these days because our world has gone insane, and I'm here to provide the remedy. Black Crows lives. Holla! Thank you very much! So I went to the city for my 45th birthday. We stayed in a hotel for the night and had a great time with my wife and three kids. My wife got me this beautiful mezuzah. She got me this cover for the challah made in Israel. Beautiful embroidery and this great kosher cookbook. So I was joking with my mom today, going over all the awesome, thoughtful gifts. And I told my mom that my wife must be nervous, which made me laugh. Of course, my mom didn't laugh, but obviously it's divorce. It's not a laughing matter, but I thought it was a comical aside to make nonetheless. But I do want to thank my wife for playing a major role in making my birthday a very special one. I mean, knowing that, like, when she got sushi later that night and she didn't give me any specialty rolls specifically, I could overlook no problem just because of the mezuzah. It's actually a running joke right now. So no matter, like, what she does, like, literally my wife can call me, she could drop the K-bomb, that's kike, I never say it. It's like the equivalent of the N-bomb. She could drop the K-bomb 5 times in a row in a blacked out drunken stupor, and I could go off on her, and then all she has to say is, Mezuzah, so now my wife has immunity from charges of being an unhuggable C word or a relentless bitch. So you could say there is a self-serving motive as well. I took my kids to Chelsea Piers. We bowled. Can't say I was overjoyed at the prospect of dropping a Benjamin literally a second to Manhattan, not accounting the parking and everything else. But we were going to go to this really fancy kosher restaurant, but it was a real schlep. We were in Midtown, and it just wasn't going to work. So we ended up pulling an audible and went to the Second Avenue Deli, and we were treated like King Solomon, Israeli descendant royalty, and it was wonderful. I never had their hot beef brisket sandwich, and you could ask them for their horseradish, and it's mixed with beetroot, and it's superb. I was very impressed, and I asked for it on a hero. I tried the corned beef, and so I wanted to mix it up and not be so like predictably Jewy with the pastrami order, and it was definitely lighter, but not nearly as scrumptious. So corned beef is off the list. That's what I get for trying to placate my wife's Irish side. So the next day, on Sunday, my actual birthday, we spent Saturday in the city. We went to Fifth Avenue because I wanted to take my son Arthur to the Lego store, and I noticed the sculpture on Fifth Avenue across the street from St. Patrick's Cathedral, which is known as the Atlas statue. It's this 40-foot high statue. It's a bronze statue of Atlas holding heaven on his shoulders. And the idea behind the mythology of Atlas is that he took on Zeus. And for doing that, Zeus layeth the smackdown on Atlas, and for punishment for all eternity, he had to carry the weight of the world on his shoulders, which is a pretty cool story, nonetheless. And obviously, a real iconic image right by 30 Rock, across the street from St. Patrick's Cathedral. But now, the Atlas statue has a mask on it. I really shouldn't be surprised at this point in my life. The funny thing is that both my children noticed it, and I found out afterwards that they decided to not point out the fact that that enormous Atlas sculpture had a mask on it because he knew it would trigger me and completely ruin my birthday. Yeah, which it didn't, but it was very sensitive and empathetic on their part. So thank you, God, for giving me such loving, thoughtful, empathetic kids. Further proof I'm not raising a bunch of hair trigger happy white supremacists. So there's a piece that I put together this morning, and because right now I'm in the process of organizing, which does not sound sexy at all, but I'm in the process of developing and putting together my second comedy record release off Adderall called killerset@gmail.com. Holla! Thank you very much! And when I was in the city, I saw this really cool interview with Brian Johnson from AC/DC. He's the lead singer that replaced Bon Scott. And I was surprised to hear him do this interview. He's doing it with Joe Elliott, the main songwriter and lead singer behind Def Leppard. And it was definitely like a mutual suck-off fest, which made me really happy. And both those bands, as iconic as they are, as many records as they've sold, still don't get the rock critic suck-offage that they deserve, which is annoying to me. I mean, Depeche Mode and the Cult are in the freaking Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, for Christ's sake, and I don't think Def Leppard is, last time I checked, which is, beyond offensively Gaulish. And also, Brian Johnson, I was surprised that he was even able to conduct these interviews, because I remember reading not too long ago that AC/DC had to stop performing because Brian Johnson had gone borderline deaf. And now all he hears whenever he's on stage is, "Hell's bells! Holla! Thank you very much!" So during the interview, this was during the Hysteria tour, where that record had Rocket on it, it had Hysteria, Armageddon, it had everything. La Bites. So they're talking about that record. And Joe Elliott was talking about how he had made a decision. It could have been that album. It could have been Pyromania, which is also off the charts. It's got Foolin', and it's got Rock of Ages, and it's got Photograph, which is arguably the best rocker on that album. And that expression, rock and roll clown, is the best. That's all Def Leppard. And he admitted to Brian Johnson, a very hard partier, not as intense as Bon Scott, who literally drank himself to death, but he could hold his own. And Joe Elliott, the lead singer of Def Leppard, had admitted during his interview that he made a decision that he would stop drinking beer during one specific tour because he was hyperventilating, have a hard time breathing, and he said, "Do you want to drink more beer or be famous?" And he decided he wanted to be famous. So, in honor of Joe Elliott and Def Leppard, when I went to Israel ages ago for my Masada team tour, I had two cassettes I listened to over and over again: Pyromania and Pink Floyd The Wall. Pink Floyd The Wall, obviously off the list now since Roger Waters decided to come out as a full-time anti-Semite, sucking off Babyface Omar and Rashida. I want to blow Talib Kweli every time, all the time, long time. Holla! Thank you very much! So, I revere Def Leppard. They're the real deal. And they're prolific. And I don't even give a fuck that they're English. They had a residency in Vegas. I wanted to see them after I saw Aerosmith. And it never didn't work out. But they're fantastic. And I remember they were touring with Poison and Joan Jett, which is such a killer lineup. And I want to see that tour. I'm going to do a prayer to God. God, please make that tour happen because I want to take my kids and it's going to be the best. Especially when I have a freaking agent, God willing. I know you care about me having an agent, Lord. So I could say F you to a lot of people. That's not the reason why. I just want to be a talent represented agent so I can start making some bank and write more books. And not just write for free on my blog. No offense, WordPress peeps. And some new peeps peeps meaning fans, that I've developed on SoundPress too. So, SoundPress, SoundCloud. So I'm watching this with my kids, and that line just like really pierced my soul. Do you want more beer, or do you want to be famous? And for me, like famous is, for me, the desire to be famous is doesn't stem from the desire to have like endless pussy on demand. And you're thinking that's because you're a full-blown homosexual, but no, that's not the reason why. The reason why is just because the fame will certify my success within the writing game. Nothing more, nothing less. I phrase that well. Can I get a holla for sounding relaxed and taking my time, not being a tweaked out old freak? Pleasant change of pace. Thank you very much, Hashem. Holla! Thank you very much! And I watch with my kids. So I'm only on day 2. Day 2 without the beer. So this isn't a monumental accomplishment yet in life. But I told the kids that they still have like 2.5 months up to school. So I said, listen, I will not have a drink until I get dunk a basketball convincingly. I don't do it in a game. So the game plan is to have that done by the end of the summer. So, or before the summer, because what's better than drinking a beer during the summer when it's all said and done? So, but obviously, when you don't have Adderall in your system, the need to calm down your brain and suck down delicious suds definitely falls dramatically in half. So that's nice. And I was able to give up beer during Passover this year, which I never did before. So that was nice. And this reminds me of a time when I said, hey, Matilda, Daddy hasn't had a beer in 9 days. And she says, that's my daughter. My daughter says, that's great, Daddy. So far, you've never even made it to double digits. Holla! Thank you very much! I also like the leverage it gives me around my wife, as far as like her not being able to talk shit. But I also don't want to pass on fatherhood. Not as if me drinking beer results in me, passing out 24/7 to my kids. But obviously, during your birthday week and celebration, you incorporate some nice wine from California that is a combination of Cabernet, Cab Franc, Petit Syrah. So hot, want to touch the grapey hiney. Holla! Thank you very much! You mix that with some medicinal green that you get up in the Berkshires. So I want to give a shout out to my Berkshire peeps. I ended up running into one of my brother's ex-girlfriends, and she hasn't aged a day. She was super cool, and she was laughing a long time. I was a big hit. If I can only tour weed dispensers, I never have to make money from that. Like, we never have to worry about paying for weed ever again, or selling books, because they would all blast my podcast all the time, and I could push my books through my podcast that way. Got a dream, Dave! Carlito's Way lives. Holla! Thank you very much! So I want to give some loving homage, shout out to Great Barrington. First, I showed up at this other place. There was a long line, and I'm looking at these people, and I'm thinking, I don't think weed's going to improve your life one iota. You're looking pretty tore up in the first place. I'm getting the impression your brain is freaking flatlining on the spot. And this guy approaches me, and he says, well, you need to make a pre-order. And I'm thinking, I don't think these people, they don't even know what that means. And then I go to this other shop, and there's no line. And I started pronouncing. It felt like I just skipped Magic Mountain on ecstasy with my girlfriend on ecstasy who was into swinging. Holla! Thank you very much! No mask required. So I had a fun birthday weekend, and it was well deserved because I got a really nice note from a literary agent from the #1 literary agency in Israel. I had sent the Coach-Tarian Comedian. The comment was, and I can't say I've gotten this comment before from literary agents, and I sent out the Great American Jew novel to a lot prior, and you got some encouraging notes, but this one said that the manuscript, so I'm assuming he read the entire freaking thing, and he got back to me pretty damn fast, and the comment was, the manuscript is free-spirited and clever. I'll take it. But then after that, he said, well, but I can't represent you right now for this book because I don't see the mucho dinero commercial opportunity from it because it is called The Coachitarian Comedian and there's only two conservative practicing Jews left that work in the field of entertainment, and you and David Mamet isn't enough to get the job done. Holla! Thank you very much! So, I have an editor right now who is working on the Waste of Height, really short stories, my all-star collection of flash fiction short stories, meaning really short stories. And I got magical realism, I got historical fiction, and I got a lot of Star Vehicle for my kids. So I'm excited to get that officially done and to push that hard. And it's nice to have something new to sell. And I can't wait to get killerset@gmail.com done also. And to have my son Arthur start thinking of some awesome artwork for that cover. So I'm glad I was able to give everyone an update about, my new career ambitions, and not that any of this stuff is too new for old-time fans, but it is very relieving. Not relieving, but it's nice to talk about my plans for comedy career domination and knowing that most of you people listening after these past 4 years truly give a shit. Unlike my younger brother. So originally I was going to call this podcast Stay Classy Scumbag, which was my text that I sent to my brother after not getting a birthday shout out. And you could say that was a little bit overkill, but my mom had triggered me because she invited herself over for my 45th birthday, and it was very last minute. And it's not as if I hate my mother or anything, but I just wanted to enjoy my kids. And with my mom, it's always something from the news, and she's a resistor, and I just don't understand. You can look yourself in the mirror and respect your opinion after accepting this fake news presidency since the dead democracy died. So that was brutal. And then the apex of the shit show was when I was having a conversation about, I don't know how I got into this conversation, but I was talking about Isaac. It's the Hebrew name for my son Samuel, chosen crows bound to woo. I was talking about the story about Sarah and how, she found out that she got pregnant, at 100 years old. And, so she laughed, when she found out that she was actually pregnant, at least 40 years before Sarah Silverman's eggs went kaput. And that's why the name Isaac means to laugh. And then my mom says, yeah, but that's a myth. So I had a conversation with my mother today over the phone. I just told her, I said, Mom, I love you, but, I'm raising, proud Jewish kids, and I'm reading stories from the Bible. Granted, it's a kid's version, so it's a little bit less intense, but I don't need you doing your, poor woman's Bill Maher act in my house. So this shouldn't be a wedge issue. Hope you could respect my firm stance on this one. So, don't know how I went down that hole. Oh yeah, that's right. So that was another reason. And then she's the only reason why she's here is because my brother did everything in his power to completely disrespect and he did my grandma's old apartment that my parents have to sell now. And so my mom is only here from Arizona for my birthday, 45th birthday, big deal. I mentioned in the previous podcast. Bam Bam Bigelow, dead, never made it. Mr. Perfect, never made it. F. Scott Fitzgerald, couldn't control his lusciness. So I feel better about myself in that respect compared to F. Scott. And Tommy Morrison, you knocked him down, why don't you try knocking me down? Stallone lives, to Tony Morrison, rest in peace. Holla! Thank you very much! So, Junkyard Dog, Freddie Mercury. So I don't feel like such a out of control slut either in comparison to Freddie Mercury. But so with all this said, for my big 4-5, I didn't want to hear about my brother's degeneracy, which my mother mentioned. Like, what kind of an asshole goes off to Colorado for a wedding and just springs on my mom a cat to take care of behind when she's the antithesis of a cat lady? It's just another self-serving move on his part. So, and again, my mother would never break out into a constellation of canker sores on my behalf, which she did on my brother last time I saw her for my daughter's 10th birthday. So I have a hard time forgiving my brother for that monstrosity when that appeared. But I think I read this cool quote. It was by a church on my way down to Great Barrington, and it said, it was by a pastor, and they had like in like the letters outside the church. I think it said that like forgiveness like liberates the heart or something like that. I don't know, but I get it. I understand like the message, because if you don't forgive, you're just gonna have like your heart like engulfed in like weighty hate, so which could affect the quality of any relationship. So I see the value in that. Doesn't mean I need to be like please or accept degenerate, awful, disrespectful behavior either. Can I get a holla for preaching the gospel a long time? Holla. Thank you very much. So let's get this. That's what I get for rushing. Like, I give a fuck if you guys have lost interest. I do. I really do. I really do. I would care if my book sales noticed a significant uptick. Then I read this like blog recently, which was, yeah, hey asshole, why would people buy your books if you blog all your chapters online? Good point. So I'll shut the fuck up and thank my audience for giving me a sustained, interested audience to develop into the comedic machine I have become. So here we go. I love this title. Atlas Waning. Waning. Holla. Thank you very much. Did you know the Atlas sculpture on Fifth Avenue wears a mask these days? Is the Rocky statue masked up now? Or did BLM force the city of brotherly love to take it down because it promotes white supremacy? Holla! Thank you very much! I don't think the Stefan Marbury statue in China is wearing a mask these days. Who wants to worship an almighty basketball god from Staten Island afraid of an itchy esophagus? Especially known that Staten Island is also a home of the Wu-Tang! Wu-Tang! But the federal government, according to Biden, after his executive order, can no longer say Wuhan virus, but I could say Wu-Tang! Wu-Tang! Fuck that liver spot motherfucker. I'll say Wuhan virus all day long. Holla! Thank you very much! They say the giant mask on the ripped 45-foot bronze statue of Atlas on Fifth Avenue, holding the heavens on his shoulders, is supposed to remind passerby tourists to mask up and socially distance themselves from carbs. Jacqueline lives! Holla! Thank you very much! I can't believe anyone thinks masking up our statues is a good look to derive strong regional pride from whatsoever. If you believe in holy war being waged on the U.S., then it's safe to say we threw in the towel and Sharia law won. Holla! Thank you very much! How am I supposed to explain the mask on Atlas to my kids exactly? Only magic can make HIV disappear? Holla! Thank you very much! But seriously, what sane, calming message does the mask on Atlas on Fifth Avenue across the street from 30 Rock impart to my kids exactly? SNL hasn't been this funny in years, especially since they encouraged riots in Minnesota in honor of George Floyd, because they never dared to do a Nike PSA sketch with fake news fro Colin Kaepernick as the guest host, stating, "Just don't resist arrest," to counteract the perception that woke corporate America cares less about its employees than supporting Thug Lives Matters most. Holla! Thank you very much! You don't think Colin Kaepernick is a fake news fro? Have you ever seen a biracial afro that large before? Slash gave it a shot and it was a total flop. Lenny Kravitz, another biracial Hebrew, Never made it bounce that way. Holla! Jokes Gen X dads understand, especially. Holla! Thank you very much! Our kids being forced to wear a mask to school for the foreseeable future is bad enough. Yet, when I'm in Manhattan for my birthday, weekend celebration, that turned into like a 72-hour celebration. On my way to F.O. Schwartz, am I being too greedy for expecting a modicum of saneness left, since my city became a gutted, sci-fi, dystopian wasteland that stinks more than the cloud of dirtweed engulfing it now? I grew up with He-Man on Saturday morning. He pronounced loud and proud, "I've got the power!" with his 800-pound Conan the Barbarian sword hoisted up high towards the heavens. Now, for Saturday morning entertainment on my 45th birthday, no less, my kids have to spot the Greek god Atlas holding up the heavens on Fifth Avenue across the street from St. Patrick's Cathedral with the mask on? Because the media-empowered, government-protected, radical left, the story of all good left in this world, revere Dr. Fauci's alleged COVID, the destroyer of wisdom, despite him being a non-reported financier contributor to the Wuhan lab responsible for generating the Wuhan virus. At the same time, the same fuckface Fauci and all of his slovenly worshippers in the media and big tech responsible for playing a starring role in providing an environment that allowed these freaking evil demons to emasculate a larger-than-life Greek sculpture, such as Atlas, on Fifth Avenue, for Christ's sake, all in the name of science and keeping us safe and cozy inside and warm. Got it. I'm too depressed to give a holla, but I'll do it anyway. Holla! Thank you very much! The same Dr. Fauci who can't even give a member of Congress, such as Jim Jordan, a definite timeline as when our Burning Mass party can begin after you're vaccinated, knowing once fuckface Fauci's triple masking mandate reign of dictatic terror ends, he'll be nothing more than a swamp rat physician responsible for endless, avoidable, segregated, lonely heart deaths, skyrocketing crime, and more suicides than deaths of kids this past year, because Americans were proud of their country, again with MAGA hats on, before the day democracy died, killing off what remaining vestige of government purported goodwill still stood. Atlas wearing a mask is like the black Superman Tony Atlas, otherwise known as Mr. USA, former WWF Tag Team Championship wrestler partner of Rocky Johnson, The Rock's dad, taking up steroids again to shrink up whatever remains of his once rock-solid sense of awe-inspiring, indomitable, glorious, marble sense of freedom-loving manhood. Holla! For jerking off my poetic, leaning sensibilities, for making a point sound a lot cooler and more Jim Morrison-like than fucking Tucker Carlson. Holla! Thank you very much! Atlas was condemned with the weight of the world on his shoulders for daring to take on Zeus. Trump has to keep up the image of fighting the media and military-industrial complex to the best of his ability to ensure his MAGA cred, despite bequeathing way too much power to the shrimp with ears. Personally, I think Trump got off easy compared to Atlas. Unlike his previous diehard supporters who got shot in the street wearing MAGA gear, will be forever branded, those that got out alive, as ignorant, racist deplorables for recognizing the face of true evil embedded throughout the COVID control coup, which all you feckless cunts take pleasure in. All the destroyed businesses, all the burned cities, all you know out of the White House. And don't act like you wish George Floyd was back here on this planet Earth and that you're going to break bread with him and Nancy Pelosi was going to share her Oxycontin and fentanyl secret stash with him, whenever he decided to drop by there again. Don't buy it. denture, breath Pelosi. Sorry. So, again, people like myself, in my mother's eyes, and a hell of a lot of other people, will be forever branded as ignorant, racist deplorables, nothing new, we can handle it, for recognizing the face of true evil embedded throughout this COVID control coup of the most despicable, amoral order, because we simply refuse to suck off false gods, such as Obama be good, to our last dying breath, which no amount of punishing shaming can overcome in my lifetime, Jack. But thanks for exposing where the arc of justice leads. And it's not towards Pennsylvania Avenue, Silicon Valley, or toward the Supreme Court anymore, by any stretch of the imagination. What's the point in attaining power in the former land of the free and home of the brave if you're not going to use it for the greater good among if you're not going to use it for the greater good to be enjoyed among all the God-loving Americans left? I despise all you feckless, power-mad destroyer of all good cunt press. But keep on normalizing the posting of kid pics en masse after Halloween and see how cute it is when those same kids become more tone deaf, socially stunted, and emotionally retarded than what their media fawning, China placating parents have already become.